In a vault at Yale sits a book no one can read. Its pages are filled with plants that may not exist, constellations that do not quite match the sky, naked figures moving through strange green baths, and thousands of words written in an alphabet found nowhere else on Earth. It is called the Voynich Manuscript, after the rare book dealer who brought it to public attention in 1912. But Wilfrid Voynich did not write it, and the mystery is much older than his name. The physical object is real. The surviving manuscript is parchment, not modern paper. Its ink and pigments are consistent with medieval manuscript materials. Whatever the text means, this is not simply a modern notebook dressed up to look ancient. In 2009, 4 parchment samples were radiocarbon dated at the University of Arizona. Their dates clustered in the early 15th century, with the combined result placing the parchment roughly between 1404 and 1438. That date tells us when the animals used for the parchment lived, not the exact day the writing was added. But it destroys one popular idea. The book cannot plausibly be an original work by the 13th-century scholar Roger Bacon. The manuscript itself gives no author, no title page, no place of publication, and no key. Its script uses a small recurring set of unfamiliar signs arranged into word-like groups, line after line, with the confidence of someone who expected the system to make sense. And the pictures make the puzzle worse. The book falls into recognizable visual sections, plants, stars and zodiac-like diagrams, bathing figures, cosmological foldouts, pharmaceutical-looking roots and jars, then pages of dense text that resemble recipes. The botanical pages look almost familiar. Roots, stems, leaves, and flowers are drawn as if they belong in a medieval herbal. But many plants resist confident identification, and some seem to combine features in ways that make a simple field guide impossible. Then the sky appears. Circular charts, stars, suns, moons, and zodiac-like imagery suggest astronomy or astrology, but the labels remain trapped behind the same unreadable script. The strangest section may be the bathing pages. Small human figures, many of them female, stand in pools and tubes filled with green liquid, connected by structures that look biological, hydraulic, architectural, or like none of those things at all. This is the trap at the center of the Voynich Manuscript. Every illustration seems to offer a clue, but almost every clue can support several stories: medicine, herbal knowledge, astrology, women's health, alchemy, a private symbolic system. So the first discipline is simple: separate what the book shows from what we want it to say. The pictures establish themes. They do not give us a dictionary. The writing has been attacked as a cipher for more than a century. Cryptographers have counted symbols, searched for substitutions, compared repeated words, and tested whether the patterns behave like language. But there is a basic problem. Before you can break a cipher, you need to know that you are looking at a cipher. The Voynich text could encode language, represent language in an unknown writing system, use abbreviations, follow a constructed method, or conceal something stranger. Repeated patterns are real, but repetition alone is not a translation. A convincing solution has to work across the manuscript, explain the grammar of the system, and produce meaningful readings without changing the rules whenever the page becomes inconvenient. That standard has eliminated a long parade of confident claims: Latin, Hebrew, Romance languages, Asian languages, secret medical codes, invented alphabets. Every few years, someone announces the mystery is over. It isn't. Even Yale describes the script as unidentified and the meaning as unresolved. Cryptographic approaches have failed to produce a generally accepted reading, assuming the text is encoded at all. The materials offer firmer ground. Chemical analysis found iron gall ink and pigments compatible with medieval manuscript practice. No, obviously, modern pigment has emerged to rescue the idea of a 20th-century forgery. But again, caution matters. Medieval compatible materials do not tell us who wrote the book or what it says. They narrow the world in which the manuscript could have been made. They do not solve it. The manuscript's later history is more human. It passed through learned circles in 17th-century Central Europe, where people were already trying to understand what kind of book they had inherited. A letter preserved with the manuscript links it to Emperor Rudolf II and says the book had been bought for 600 gold ducats, with a belief that Roger Bacon had written it. That Bacon attribution is now treated as speculation. The book later reached the Prague alchemist Georg Baresch, then Johannes Marcus Marci, who sent it to the Jesuit scholar Athanasius Kircher in Rome in 1666. The letter travelled with it. So did the mystery. Kircher was famous for languages, ancient scripts, and spectacular claims of decipherment. If anyone in 17th-century Europe seemed destined to crack the book, it was him. Yet no surviving solution from Kircher explains it. Then the manuscript largely disappears from the public story until the modern era. By 1912 it was in a Jesuit collection near Rome, where Wilfrid Voynich purchased it and began the century of attention that gave the book its modern name. Voynich believed the book was important, and he promoted the Roger Bacon theory aggressively. That theory failed, but his obsession accomplished something else. The manuscript became a global puzzle. After Voynich died, the manuscript passed through several hands. In 1969, bookseller H.P. Krauss gave it to Yale's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library, where it is catalogued today as Beinecke MS 408. The modern scans changed the nature of the mystery. Researchers no longer need to be in the same room as the original to examine its pages. High-resolution images let anyone compare glyphs, illustrations, corrections, and patterns across the surviving manuscript. That openness has produced something rare. Professional historians, codicologists, cryptographers, linguists, computer scientists, and obsessive amateurs all staring at the same pages, asking different questions of the same object. And yet the central question has barely moved. Is the text meaningful language, a cipher, a highly abbreviated technical notation, a constructed system, or an elaborate pseudo-text designed to look meaningful? A hoax is possible in principle, but hoax does not make the object simple. Someone still had to prepare expensive parchment, write page after page of structured-looking text, organize sections and produce a visual system consistent enough to survive centuries of scrutiny. Imagine making it. You prepare calfskin parchment, you plan foldouts, you draw hundreds of botanical, astronomical, and human forms. Then you fill the remaining space with thousands of glyph groups while maintaining recurring patterns across the book. If it is nonsense, it is unusually disciplined nonsense. If it is meaningful, the system is unusually resistant to recovery. Either possibility is more interesting than the easy version of the mystery. There is another mistake worth avoiding. Strange pictures do not prove strange origins. Nothing about the physical manuscript requires aliens, lost super-civilizations, or knowledge from outside medieval Europe. Yale places the manuscript within a Central European context, and the materials fit medieval practice. The real mystery is stronger without fantasy. People in the 15th century were capable of making a book whose intellectual system we still cannot confidently reconstruct. That may be why the manuscript survives every attempted solution. We keep asking for a sentence we can translate. But perhaps the first question should be more basic. What kind of information system are we looking at? The answer could depend on things we have not recovered. A missing key, a forgotten abbreviation system, a specialist tradition, an oral convention, or assumptions so ordinary to the writer that they were never explained. It could also be that there is no hidden plaintext waiting underneath. A writing system can organize information without behaving like ordinary prose, and a manuscript can be meaningful to its maker without being recoverable by us. That is the uncomfortable possibility. The Voynich Manuscript may not be a locked door with one perfect key. It may be the surviving fragment of a context that disappeared, leaving the object intact while the instructions for understanding it vanished. For now, the strongest conclusion is also the least dramatic. The manuscript is a genuine historical object, probably rooted in the 15th-century world, with an unidentified script and unresolved meaning. Beyond that, certainty drops quickly. Maybe the Voynich manuscript will be decoded one day, or maybe the world that made it took the answer with it. But this is only one of history's mysteries still waiting for an answer. Subscribe to Before Us and come with us as we uncover the next one.